Before we start, huge thanks to Modern XP for being the person who recorded all this footage. Without them, this video wouldn't be possible. A majority of the video will be using footage from them, so I think it's necessary to shout them out at the beginning. Link to their channel will be in the description. Mario Kart DS is one of the most popular Mario Karts of all time, and one of the reasons for that is because it holds some of the most popular tracks of all time. Today, I will be ranking each of the tracks based off what I think personally of them, meaning this is opinionated obviously. No need to get angry in the comments. And trust me, you probably might get upset. I'm not the biggest fan of the track selection, both retros and nitros in DS, and it is one of the main reasons for why I think it's one of the weaker Mario Karts. Anyways, with that all out the way, let's get started with 32 GCN Luigi Circuit, an alright course on Double Dash turned into a massive slog on DS, and by massive I mean literally, because this course is way too overscaled, reducing any chances of interacting with incoming players, which was the main thing which helped the circuit stand out. 31 Cheap Cheap Beach. The course is pretty generic with nothing too interesting going on. The water is annoying to trench through since it disables your drift for some reason, and as mentioned before, that's the only thing this track has. 30 Luigi's Mansion. This course has you driving through a couple corridors in the mansion, then makes you spend the rest of the track in some woods. Despite being my favourite part of the track, this has nothing to do with Luigi's Mansion, and the build up to the woods is extremely dull to play in, with it just being 90-degree turns and some long straightaways. There was so much you could have done with a Luigi's Mansion track, and all Nintendo could think to do was add some paintings. Come on, Nintendo. 29 Airship Fortress. Another fan favourite I'm not too keen on. The course is alright on 7 and is pretty good on Tour. However, the spiral feels horrible to go down in DS. The obstacles also just feel a lot easier to avoid, which is the only thing this track has outside of theming. 28 SNES Mario Circuit 1. The first course in the entire franchise, and it shows. This game has 8 tracks which are just 2D cutouts, meaning the only thing which will affect their placements is the layouts. And I think the basic shape I'm showing you on the screen should speak for itself. 27 GBA Peach Circuit. This course is so generic I forgot to include it in the list initially. Slightly less basic than Mario Circuit 1, but still pretty empty with nothing going on. 26 SNES Donut Plains 1. Another 2D cutout map. This one is slightly more interesting in terms of layout, but it's still incredibly basic and generic with no hazards to spice this boring map up. 25 GCM Baby Park. The track wasn't even good on Double Dash, solely relying on the chaotic item balance of that game to be good, so I have no idea why it is on DS. It's only higher than the others because I find it funny that it was even included in DS in the state that it's in. Also, chaining consecutive mini turbos on this one can be fun, I guess. 24 Tick-Tock Clock. Cool theme, however the execution isn't as good. The hazards that deal damage are easy to avoid and the spinning cogs barely even affect you. Plus, the only thing you have to do is move slightly to the left or right every time you go onto a different cog. And that's all the unique stuff this track has. 23 Wario Stadium. This just feels like a bit of Waluigi Stadium on the DS. The lack of the trick system really affects this one due to the trajectory of every ramp being far harder to control in DS, yet far less satisfying to pull off correctly. Most of the track looks the same and this one bump section is horrible considering all it does is lightly bounce your car up and down. 22 GBA Bowser Castle 2. The other ramp-based track in DS, and I'd say it pulls it off slightly better. The ramps push you up a lot less high than in Wario Stadium, which is nice, and I like the section where you have to launch off the ramps to reach a small platform with an item box. Limited air movement actually works really well here as a functioning challenge, since there's plenty of space to align your jumps beforehand. 21 N64 Choco Mountain. This course is great in 8 thanks to the huge glow up it got, however it's pretty underwhelming in the older titles. Very cramped feeling, however I like being able to push people off the side of the boulder section, forcing them to redo it. It's enjoyable every single time. 20 GBA Luigi Circuit. Fun layout and cool theme, however the course feels extremely skinny for the twisty layout it has. Hopping over the puddles can be fun though. 19 Yoshi Falls. What looks like a basic oval is actually a course with quite a bit of substance. Split paths, boost panels, waterfalls. The track has a lot going on despite what may seem like from the surface. However, I can only put an oval up so high. 18 Figure 8 Circuit. I'm going to be completely honest with you here, I only like this one because it's satisfying to snake on it. The music is also my favourite song in the entire game, which isn't the battle mode music. 17 Waluigi Pinball. Cool idea, and the layout is somewhat complex, but similarly to Choco Mountain, the course can feel quite cramped. This is specifically in the railing section, so most of the track basically. The balls can also be annoying due to their weird hitboxes from my experience, and the spiral doesn't feel great to go down. 16 Desert Hills. This is the other Super Mario Bros. 3 inspired map from DS, and although the theme is less in your face, The layout for this one definitely makes up for it. Fire snakes to dodge, pokies to weave around, and that hilly section at the end, which is super satisfying to mushroom over. Perfection. Well, except it isn't, because the slippery physics can be a pain at times. 15. GCM Mushroom Bridge. The course's identity was ripped right from it, yet I think it's just as fun. Once again, this course is just carried by the snaking technique. The cars make this track a lot more interesting to snake through though than Figure 8 Circuit. 14. SNES Koopa Beach 2. It's a circle, but similarly to Yoshi Falls, this track has enough going on to make it fun to play. The numerous water holes scattered around make this course fairly challenging and pretty interesting as a result. Also, in my opinion at least, I really like this course graphically. Don't know why, I think the colours just go well. 13. SNES Choco Island 2. For a flat 2D track, this course actually has quite a few neat ideas. Narrow paths, slippery mud with item boxes you have to try and grab, small little ramps which will launch you off course if you're not careful. The slippery physics help add to the chaos a lot as well, since the turns are less extreme than the ones on desert hills. 12. Bowser Castle. This iteration of the Bowser Castles is alright. Each section looks distinct and plays pretty differently as well. Fire to avoid, spinning platforms to balance on, more moving platforms to balance on, a rotating platform. I think I'm noticing a trend here, there's a lot of moving platforms. However, it does create for one of the most unique Bowser Castle maps in the series. 11. Delfino Square. This track deserves practically all the praise it gets, except for the drawbridge. Having to jump off it when it reaches its peak feels the same as launching off one of the ramps in Wario Stadium, aka not good at all. Aside from that, the rest of the track is pretty varied and interesting with a pleasant aesthetic to top it all off. 10. N64 Moo Moo Farm. I'm surprised they even like this one at all, but color me impressed, this is a pretty dang good one. This is another one of those tracks in this game where it works well thanks to its simplicity, and the modes create a good risk-reward element where if you go on the inside, you risk the chance of getting toppled over, which I like. 9. N64 Banshee Boardwalk. I really like the atmosphere on this one with the pitch black sky and all. This course is very narrow, however in this case it works due to the layout not being too complicated until you enter the haunted house where the road widens up and gives you swoopers to avoid, which are right in your face, which is great because it means they provide a small challenge. 8. GCN Yoshi Circuit. Easily the worst version of this track, however it's not half bad. Really fun and twisty layout, and the shortcut through the Yoshi's hand is neat. You can even do it streamless. 7. GBA Sky Garden. Whilst I prefer the remake in Tour, the more complex layout of this version is more than welcome since it provides a lot more shortcut opportunities. Even when I was younger, I loved the atmosphere for this one. Sky levels have always fascinated me in games and this one is no different. 6. Rainbow Road. The loop, despite being janky, is really fun and the rest of the track is solid. Only issue I have with this one is the final turn feeling really bumpy for some reason. Anyone else feel it, or is it just me? Also, this is the best Rainbow Road musically, no questions asked. 5. DK Pass. Similarly to Yoshi Circuit, the only thing I can really mention about this one is the twisty layout being fun. The snowballs are also an interesting obstacle too, and the fact that this course has an item box which only gives you mushrooms and stars is hilarious. 4. Peach Gardens. This course basically functions as a maze of sorts, except it's impossible to get lost. However, this maze-like aspect makes for some pretty interesting gameplay, and the hazards are actually hard to avoid unlike in the Mario Kart 8 version of the track. I especially like how the flower patches are placed in the middle of the road, forcing you to go around. It may be simple on the surface, but it creates for a fun challenge. 3. N64 Frappe Snowland. The ice cliffs surrounding you near the end of the track is a neat set piece, and the snowmen are pretty cool hazards. I'm so sorry. 2. Shroom Ridge. The layout alone was already great, but to add on to that, they added traffic that's actually hard to avoid, pushing this from a B tier map to an A tier map. Hello gamers, and before you get to see the number 1 track of this list, I'd like to welcome you to Season 9, Episode 11 of the show Reading Not Shy Guy's Comment Section. In today's episode, we'll be looking at my most recent post. Now, if we look down here towards the bottom of this masterfully written piece of art, you'll see a comment sarcastically talking about how DS Mario Circuit is the best track. Well, what if I said that they jinxed it? It's number 1 on this list. Mario Circuit is one of those courses which you shouldn't judge by its looks. Yes, graphically it is quite basic. However, it's the track itself which really stands out. Another twisty layout, which in case it wasn't obvious already, is something I'm a huge fan of. Lots of obstacles with the biggest standout being fire piranha plants, which can be difficult to avoid at times. And then to top it all off, there's my favourite part of the track, where there's a winding dirt road with slippery physics designed to send you flying into a piranha plant if you drift at a bad time. May not sound that impressive, and that's because you're correct. This is a really low standard I have to go to praise Mario Kart DS's track section. Not a single S tier this time, unfortunately, which is really weird considering this is the only Mario Kart, for me at least, where this is the case. But do you agree? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed, then please like and subscribe. It lets me know you're enjoying the content. With that all said, I'll see you next time, and bye.